big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. Today's show is special as it is meant to hit the right societal chords. It's a subject that is rarely discussed but has been constantly begging for attention. Ageism. Ever pondered upon this term? Probably not. But the interesting bit here is we're all ages in one way or the other. If you're 20, 40 seems old and distant. When you're 40, 60 seems like the end of the road. But when you're 60, you kind of wonder why everyone looks at you as a geriatric when you still have so much to offer. Look around you, and the average 55-plus cohort seems to be as colourful and energetic as ever, with a penchant for living like no other. They've been there, done that, and are no more struggling with their careers, kids, finances, and all the other obligations that come with life. Yet, post-60, you suddenly are deemed by society as wallpaper. Look at the advertising, cinema, and even products around you. Everything is centered around the 18 to 45-year age group. Marketers are obsessed with them and are in constant pursuit of the youth market. This, even though if you juxtapose the 18 to 45 age cohort with the 55 plus, the latter's propensity to spend and enjoy life and lifestyle is far higher. So companies are essentially not being prudent by completely ignoring this TG. Well, today's discussion focuses on just that, and I have with me a heavyweight panel beginning with MeenMenon, who's just founded Gen S, which is a Gen Sexty tribe, bespoke tech-enabled platform that's curated just for the 60-plus. Gen S encourages the 60-plus audience to live and explore life on their own terms, armed with the financial means and opportunities to pursue passions and explore new relationships and dimensions of personal growth. Followed by, of course, Dilip Cherian, the image consultant and founder of Perfect Relations, Harish Bijur, the brand guru, and last but not the least, Priya Lobo, CEO of Ormax Compass. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Truly a pleasure having you on the show. And let me start off with you, Meenakshi. Many congratulations on the launch of Gen S.
Thanks, Sonali, for the introduction, and thanks for the words of support. The interesting thing with the 60-plus cohort is that we are 150 million. Now, in India this year, 150 million people, and nobody's talking about them. I mean, can you imagine? Now, the entire 150 million is split across people who have the wherewithal to be consumers and people who don't have the wherewithal. But even the numbers of the people who are the consuming class is over 60 million people. That's sizable. Yeah. And this group actually is completely EMI free. Imagine, this is the only group that owns their houses, owns their vehicles, owns their life, does not have responsibilities, has the time. And why is nobody even looking at this group? And the problem with that is the narrative. We've got so used to saying, oh, this is old, this is geriatric, people are ready to put us in diapers, but we are not ready for the diapers. I'm sure they will come when we will need diapers, but not now. This is the 2 decades, the 60 to maybe 75, 15 years, when you're actually in your prime. And that is what we want the people within the cohort to understand, that their life is beginning. It's a new adventure. Go out there, have fun, live your life. And we will support you. We at Gen S, the platform we are launching, will support you in making sure your lives are full of passion, purpose, and a little bit of playfulness.
Let me take it to the brand gurus on my panel to kind of expand in terms of the why. So why is there so much ageism in marketing? Why are marketers so obsessed with the 15 to 45-year age group? You want to go first, Harish?
Well, first of all, 60 is certainly the new sexty. I would agree with that. If you look at the number that Meenakshi spoke about, we're talking about 150 million out there at this point of time. And we're really talking about this number booming and growing to something like a huge number by 2099. We are going to be, today, 10.5% of the population is beyond 60. By 2099, we're really talking about something like about 36% of the population being beyond 60. Now, when you look at marketers and the question that you raise, why aren't marketers excited by it? Simply because I think marketers are reasonably myopic at this point of time and aren't looking at the numbers. The numbers out there are very exciting, and these are numbers which are unencumbered numbers. And I think there's plenty of money, there are plenty of needs, wants, desires, and aspirations, none of them being fulfilled by the existing marketer at this point of time. So I think a refocus completely necessary as far as the marketer is concerned.
Dilip, you want to chime in? You're definitely looking sexy and how with your spanking new red glasses. I think it's a great brand icon to have on this show, just to say that the 60 plus are living it up.
Sonali, thank you so much. The 60 generation is not just about numbers. The question of why do marketers ignore them? I'll give you a very good reason. Because they're tougher to market to. They've seen it, they've been there, they know it. The problem with marketing to a Gen 60 consumer is that they have consumer power, but they also have consumer discretion. They are not the people who will purchase without a purpose. They, in fact, buy products which also have a purpose. They are looking for, they're not the Tinder generation who are, swiping right and left. All that is past that then. And because they have higher disposable incomes, because they have more choices, the problem is that marketers seek the easy way out. The 18 to 35s are the folks, unfortunately, who are bombarded by choices. And also because the kind of media we are talking about is consumed in a kind of paroxysm of enthusiasm by that lot. Gen 60, as you can see from the backgrounds of the 3 60 people you have books behind them. They know what's going on. They are aware. They're looking for new things. They're willing to go on fresh adventures. And most of them are also spending a lot of time and effort on ensuring that they access the right products and the right services. That's the missing link. And that, I think, is where a huge market opportunity lies.
Also, if I may add to that, Sonali, the interesting thing is that brands don't want to be seen as an older person's brand. Okay, and this is something that we've been talking to brands, right? And we've in fact been telling brands the fact that you don't want to romance us in public is good, because we have a private platform on which you can romance us to your heart's delight and your bottom line's delight. Don't talk to us in public, because every brand is worried, and Harish will confirm this, that the minute I start talking to an older audience, I am getting disconnected from a younger audience. So it's like seen as a either or kind of situation.
Yeah. And Priya, the data woman, before you add to what Meenakshi is saying, I have a question that is quite pointed. Is it true that, in your research that you've conducted, over 50 or 55 plus, that cohort, which is actually quite generic, I would say, in the first place, and you can, give me some insights on why it is such a broad cohort, so to speak, because there's quite a large difference between, let's say, a 60-year-old and an 80-year-old. But given that, do you find that this entire cohort feels misrepresented, ignored, and brands and marketers are using possibly age rather than attitude and lifestyle to kind of target products? Is that the key problem with what marketers are doing today?
Yes. And what I always tell people is that, when you go with the demographic, it's a meaningless thing altogether. It's like, I would say, forget saying it's so last Tuesday. I think you're living in another century.
Sure.
I would say that if you look at life stage markers, I think you will be wiser when you're creating products for people. So today, I would, like when we did the study for Meenakshi, I said, what is a 52-year-old thinking about when he's going to be 58 or 60? What is a 60-year-old thinking when he's going to be 65? If we start orienting ourselves in this manner, I think we'll create products for the right age groups.
Sure.
Instead of, when people say, I want to talk to 25 to 40, I said, hold on. Who is your consumer? And the moment they say it's for everyone, I said, let's start from the drawing board. What have you created? For whom have you created? And what are your needs? And I think that's inspiring marketing, that's inspiring research that that gets done. And hopefully we start talking this, the narrative and the myopicness that Harish spoke about and Dilip spoke about and Meenakshi, the narrative starts changing.
But what would you say are the key highlights or headlines of the specific research you conducted, for Gen S and this entire launch of this platform? Can you give us something that will be eyebrow raising in terms of, wow, I didn't know that?
There's nothing that you would never know, but there's always something that I can nuance.
Sure.
I think that we believe that these people are old, they want to not do anything. Oh my God, they were rearing to go. They said, now we really want to live our life. We want to travel. We want to experience adventure. We want to nurture connections. Yeah.
Remember the speed dating.
Even speed dating. And they said, why not? Don't box us.
Sure.
This is a time to lead our life to the fullest. And we might say, yeah, we know it. No, you don't. That's why you showcase them in a particular way in ads, right? Acha, ye abhi ho gaya, uski zindagi. At 58, companies should change that. They say that the day you turn 58, that's the time they tell you that you're retiring from this company. You're not required, you're redundant.
Sure.
So there's so much policy change that can happen just through Gen 60 and bringing up these conversations.
Absolutely. If the Prime Minister of the country can be 75 and run such a large and diverse country, I don't think professionals should be deemed redundant at 58. Great point. But let me go back to understanding why there is this narrative on, let's say, a 55 plus or a 60 plus, a group. Is it because, and this is particularly to you, Harish and Dilip, is it because, as we're conditioned because of what we've seen in the society in the past, that by the time 58, 60, you're a grandmother, grandfather, and the behavior patterns cumulatively of Indians, if you generalize, has been that of an old person, that of a retired person. For example, let's say 5 years ago, you went to travel to Europe or wherever else, you always see the Westerners who come with their friends. They might be 60, they might be 70, they might be 75, coming and having a good time. But you barely see a group of old Indians going and traveling. Even if they do, it's a family affair. So do you think it's also comes from our societal construct in terms of how we've been conditioned to behave and what we've seen over the past? Of course, the new breeds of 50s, 60s, 70s, Meenakshi being, a key example of how I want to be when I'm in my 60s, for that matter, Dilip and you. I'm just saying, do you see that may have been the reason why marketers may have been turned off to kind of look at this particular wealthy cohort?
If I may go first.
Oh, sorry.
Harish, sorry.
Please go, please go.
One big reason is that you have unleashed this Gen 60 power quite recently as far as India is concerned.
Sure.
It is a cultural thing, but also it's a post-COVID thing. COVID brought everyone to realize that life is short, live it quickly, and live it at your best. So I think that Gen 60, in a sense, is a movement and a coming together, accumulation of a point in time. The cultural facts and the cultural fit, I will let Harish deal with it because he's the expert. But the way I see it, the other aspect is that we tend to get ignored because that's and perhaps this is because I live in Delhi, because politics has always focused on the first-time voter and the first 3 times voter. So when the national leadership is trying to focus on 18 to 35 or 40, thinking that that's who they need to influence, then that begins to influence a lot of policy making. I think policy making has ageism built into it, and where they deal with the plus 60s, they're dealing with it as if they are a decrepit lot, not a sexy lot. And I think that's where the opportunity is, because it's all changed now. And you will see going forward more groups of the kind you're talking about. And I already see that, meaning there are friends of mine who want to travel in a group. They're not from college, they're not from university. They just happen to be a bunch of people who are networked and who are all at that age when they don't need to be constrained by when are school holidays, when is college off, nothing of the kind. When can I get leave? None of those issues. All of us are hyper professionals, but we can pick and choose what we want to do.
Absolutely.
Harish, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with what Dilip has just mentioned. And if you look at it, society has changed. Society has evolved. What's really happened is we have always been time-based in terms of judging the ability of a human being in India, for instance, and across the world, except in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Switzerland, where, they think differently. So out here, we typically say that the moment somebody hits 58, it's time to retire. Now, I think the time-based orientation is so wrong, because culturally what's happened is, in every single home, someone who's 58 is possibly a grandma today, and possibly the grandma has never ever worn a sari in her life, in her life. Now, that is a new generation. Why did I talk about the sari? Simply speaking, because, I went into a piece of research. We tried to understand how is it that little babies are taken care of in typical Indian homes. The typical Indian baby, when born, the first garment it's wrapped in is with the sari of a grandmother, a very soft cotton sari of the grandmother, which has been worn maybe 300 or 400 times, because it's the softest and the cleanest ever garment there can be. Now, in urban India, if you want to follow the same trend, you can't, because you can't wrap that baby in a pair of Levi's jeans, which has been worn n numbers of times. Grandma of today has possibly not a sari type at all. Grandma of today is possibly found to be partying at the best clubs in town. Grandma of today actually partakes of the best wines in the world. Grandma today is peripatetic. She travels all across the globe, if not all across India for sure. So culturally, a lot has changed. Now, what's happened is the 60s, or the sexties, as we will now start referring to it, is a completely new generation. So new that a lot of people don't know how new they are.
Correct.
Who are they? You need to discover for yourself. And I think, there definitely is merit in a statement I'd like to make, with due apology to Dr. C.K. Prahlad. I would say there is fortune at the top of the age pyramid. Dr. Prahlad said there is fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. I'm saying there's fortune at the top of the age pyramid.
Fantastic.
And this fortune needs to be tapped into.
Very well said.
Absolutely.
May I add to that, Sonali? I think the fact of the matter is that we also need to understand today we are living longer. Today we are living healthier.
Sure.
If I look at the average 60-year-old today and the average 60-year-old 20 years ago, it's a completely different ballgame. Today, the average 60-year-old may have diabetes, may have hypertension, but they still want to walk. They still want to do yoga. They still want to go to the park, right? 20
And
years
the bar.
and the bar.
And date.
And dance and do whatever else. But we're healthier today than we were in the past. And the fact that we are healthier, we are going to have longer lives. So earlier, when you retired at 60 and, you thought your lifespan was till 75, 15 years were not that long a period. But today, when you retire at 60 and your lifespan goes on till 85 and 90, I mean, imagine 30 years more. You've got to keep yourself occupied. You have to keep yourself engaged. And we also need to do it not only for ourselves, but for our children. Because when parents are engaged and they're occupied and they're happy, their children are happy.
Absolutely. I just want to add on the cultural thing that Hari spoke about. In fact, I was talking to this gentleman and he says, I said, oh my God, you're so active and you're like dashing. He was like, and he says, I want to give you a book to read. And I picked the book and I read a page which says, society wants you to age gracefully. That is society telling you. It's all bullshit. Okay. In fact, it says you should age healthy. And that's what I like what Meenakshi is doing. It tells you you're committed to movement, you want to be healthy, and you want to do that for your children, right? And you're going to be till 85, 90. And every time I think of it, when Meenakshi talks about it, and when you guys talk about it, I shudder. I'm saying, I'm 51. What's going to happen? And I think it's an eye-opening moment. And that's why I love working with her, because I think we're changing something in society. It's a cultural shift and paradigm that we're all working towards.
Absolutely. Look at the categories that are available on the platform currently, right? The Gen 60 platform. I'd like to know, what is the kind of interest you've seen on the platform? Are 60 plus people excited now that this is for them? Is it friendly to navigate? And to add to that, Priya, if you could supplement, which are the categories you saw most interest in? Because I'd be interested in knowing what is this cohort really kicked about?
We've branded the platform Gen S. Okay, there's Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen X. So we said we own Gen S. S for sexy, S for senior, S for smart, S for savvy. A lot of people make the mistake of saying 60 is the new 40. It is most certainly not. Unequivocally not. We're done with the 40s. We are at 60. We are happy where we are, right? So it's Gen S. We own our reality. And that's the first change, physical change and emotional and social change we are making. We own our reality. The second thing is, as far as the app is concerned, it's a platform, it's an app designed for the 60 plus by the 60 plus. Okay. And a lot of people make the mistake of saying, oh, the older people are technophobes. To which my answer is, hello, darling. We're the guys who transited from typewriters to computers. We're the guys who moved from rotary phones to smartphones. We're the guys who moved from cycles to MRTs. Okay, so if you create something that eliminates us from the picture, obviously we won't be able to be part of the party. But if we build for the cohort, there is absolutely no reason why we should not be able to adopt technology. Show me 160 plus who doesn't use WhatsApp, and I'll change my name.
I want you to tell my audience the story on how this idea was triggered, Meenakshi, when you went to buy yourself an iPhone, and what happened.
Yes, so I'm 65 and I'm a really happy 65. And by the way, I'm a double grandma. And Harish, I have soft malmal saris for my babies. Okay.
Whoa.
So,
But you're the last generation.
No, I'm not. My daughter wears saris. But the thing is, it's exactly this thing, we're not homogeneous. We're a very heterogeneous lot. And so I went to Chroma to buy an iPhone. And this sweet salesman walks up to me and says, I was wearing a sari, a soft crushed cotton sari with my hair in a bun. I looked like a nani or a dadi, and I'm proud of looking like a nani or a dadi. The guy walks up to me and I said, "Mujhe iPhone chahiye." And he says to me, "Madam, wo iPhone aapke liye thoda sophisticated nahi rahega, advanced rahega aapke liye. ये नए फोन्स है, रेडमी है, ओप्पो है, आप आइए मैं दिखाता हूँ." Very sweetly, very kindly, but he was stereotyping me and he was putting me into a box. And I whipped out my iPad. I was deeply offended. I whipped out my iPad and said, Beta, mere paas iPad hai, abhi iPhone dikha do. And he sort of shrunk and took me to the iPhone. But it got me thinking. And it's sort of, sometimes all you need is a trigger. And then you look around you and you see all the signs of ageism. And many of them come with care. It's not that they are, offensive. But the fact of the matter is, ultimately, the outcome is offensive. And so that's why I started thinking about it. If somebody like me, who's vital, I walk into a room and I don't hide, I stride into a room. And despite that, if this man was slotting me as a older person who's a technophobe, doesn't deserve an expensive phone, it suddenly got me thinking, if I am experiencing this, what about the rest of my cohort? And that's when Priya, when she went out and did the research, and she came back and said, everyone, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you feel invisible. It's the invisibility of age that we want to address.
In fact, I have a point to correlate on this, Sonali. Meenakshi walking in and wanting an iPhone and looking like Dadi. I don't know how that poor guy got away by saying what he said. He must have been a very polite guy. But the point is, when somebody tells you that you're not in there for the brand that you're looking for, he or she or the marketer is looking at you and your needs, basically your needs. My research tells me, there are good companies and bad companies. Good companies research into the 60 plus, and good companies are eyeing the 60 plus with salivating appeal. Now, a good company for whom I did this research, can't name it, we went in there and we tried to find out and put people into silos as to how a marketer reacts to the age profiles. Now, typically, when you look at 60 plus, a marketer looks at the needs of the 60 plus, full stop. Needs. And those needs are the obvious needs. It's about healthcare, it's about Medicare of every kind, it's about senior citizen needs, cohort living for senior citizens, products and services that take care of the skin of a 60 plus person. But this is only needs based. So there are some marketers, poor marketers, bad marketers, look only at the needs of the 60 plus. Good marketers, savvy marketers, look at the wants of the 60 plus, the desires of the 60 plus, and even better, the aspirations of the 60 plus. To that, I would add the fantasies of the 60 plus as well. Because the 60 plus folk equally fantasize as much as those below 60. So wants, desires, aspirations, and fantasies are the new 4 things a marketer looks at while marketing to the 60 plus. And I think that's exactly what's happened with Meenakshi's iPhone example, where the guy looked at her and said, you have needs, we'll take care of your needs. No, Meenakshi has wants, desires, aspirations, and beyond.
But Harish, I have not yet come across a marketer who addresses this space.
Sure.
And I'm happy to have an offline conversation with you, but I have spoken to brands myself, okay, and they don't see what you are talking about.
So they're still blinded, you're saying?
At this point of time. I think if they don't see it till now, at least at the end of this brand equity program of Shonali, marketers will wake up. Take it from me.
Hopefully. But are you saying, Meenakshi, and I'm going to come to you, Priya, I'm sorry. Are you... go ahead. You finish yours and then I'll take the question.
Yeah, I wanted to say that very few are waking up to this. Yeah, like what Harish was saying. You were asking me, what was that moment of truth when we were speaking to these people?
Yes.
And I want to take what Hari said. They were asking us, can you organize picnics for us where we can be with our kind of people? Can we go for plays, theater? So it's almost like I don't want to be dependent on anyone. I'm independent and I have this playfulness about me. I really want to do things which people think I cannot do anymore. And therefore, when you said categories and brands, your immediate answer will be, "Acha, finance company ke saath baat karte hain. Okay, let's talk to these kind." What about other categories that can really appeal? Skincare is an obvious one. But look at travel, look at, event companies that can only talk to such people. They've got the money, they're rearing to go. And those are the categories are high on appeal and relevance.
By the way, let me tell you, one of our partnerships is with Book My Show. Okay, now a lot of people will say, why Book My Show? Because she said, Book My Show is looking at a cohort, and this cohort has the time they want to go for shows, travel. Okay, Thomas Cook, one of our partners, who again said that a lot of their travel is the senior group. But what are we doing? We are not looking at off-the-shelf tours. We are saying, do bucket list stuff. Have experiences.
Yeah.
And also, don't forget that this audience has more spending power, which is not denominated by their age. For example, my granddaughters, and this is not I have more than yours, but I have 4 of them, 4 grandchildren. And the granddaughter called the other day and said, Nanu, you're having dinner with me at this place at this time, and just make sure my younger sister's not coming. So I said, why? I want to take her along. She said, no, this is just you and me. And she knew exactly where she wanted to go, which is not just an upscale restaurant, but a top of the pops restaurant. And she had got her menu fixed. And all I was doing was paying the check, but also being the amusement for the 1 hour that she had to spare between tuitions. So I think that people don't realize, and now marketers are waking up to this, because sometimes you're not just living your fantasy, you are living fantasies of children, of grandchildren, and the budget does not exist. Meaning it's not even the budget that their parents worry about. A grandparent has no budget where children are concerned. So these are new fantasies, and these are only possible with this age cohort. And
But Dilip, my question is, are marketers waking up to this? Are we seeing an actual opening up of consciousness where they're saying it's 150 million, it can be 2 countries put together. Look at the kind of potential and, the bottom line. Are they? That's good news if it's true.
Travel companies are, I can see that happening. It's just beginning. Harish has something to say.
Yeah, Shonali, reacting to Dilip's point and what Meenakshi mentioned about people with money, people wanting to do a lot, plenty of bandwidth of time on their hands, away from the Rozmarra ki zindagi, all the off the treadmill. These are self-actualizing folk, many of them. And I would correlate it to the fact that, they're top of the pyramid, self-actualizing people. Now, I, for one, have a client. Needless to say, I don't take client names because I don't want to plug any of them. This guy is a cruise liner, okay? A relatively new cruise liner. 4 years into it. And I think what we did was, initially we started by saying, this cruise liner will take adults-only cruises, which means that an adult is defined to be somebody who's 20 years and above only. And now we're sub-segmenting it and saying that this cruise liner will be for 2 types of people, maybe 20 plus, right up to any age group. And the second is going to be anything that's going to be 50 plus up to any age group. Because, you're creating a cohort. A cruise takes off. And this is one of the best cruises in the world today, has topped the list, doing exceedingly well. And if you ask me, what a cruise does is bonds people together for 7 days, 14 days, whatever number of days you're on. And the kind of activities that you want to give on a cruise liner must be tailor-made. Now, what happens in a general purpose cruise, there are many, is that you have kids running all around with playing havoc, and there's the water slide on which people are coming down, and it's a different mood altogether. And you cannot have 5 pools on a cruise. So what we typically do is we say, hey, 20 and above, right up to a particular age group, and then 50 and above. The mood, tone, tenor, decibel of anything and everything that happens in the cruise is completely different. So I think it's all about segmentation. I'm going back to marketing basics. Segmentation has been taught to every marketer, including I. Each one of us has learned segmentation. But do you segment, my dear friends? Not really. Targeting has been taught to us, n numbers of times. None of us follow targeting as we must. And finally, positioning. None of us position psychographically to the 60 plus correctly. And I think that is something that needs to come in. And I think at the end of your program, Shonali, everybody is going to wake up and listen to the clarion call of Dilip, Meenakshi, and Prudent. Yeah,
I want to twist this. Can I twist this a bit?
Please twist.
I think, the work that I do and some of the things that I'm picking up, because suddenly the consumer is saying, I want to be in control of my decisions. There's something nice about evolution. Even if the marketer is not going to do it and he's going to be myopic, the consumer is going to drive this narrative. Yeah? So let's not wait for them. And they will do what they have to do. And I see freedom and want to control of decisions starting at 40. And those 40 are going to be 50 soon. So better wake up and listen, because evolution is beautiful, right? It forces you to change.
And the other interesting thing is this whole question of segmentation. Okay, the minute you look at a demographic segmentation, you actually lost the plot.
Absolutely.
You have to look at the psychographics, at the groups within that demographic and how those groups work for you. Unlike Harish, I don't have a restriction. I can talk about clients. So we had a conversation with Puma. And Puma loved the idea, because what are we saying? We are saying this group has the money. This group walks. This group needs shoes, right? Comfort. As you get older, you understand that fashion is only valuable when it is fashion that is comforting. You don't want to walk around on stilettos. You need good shoes. Puma said, what a great idea. They came on board. And then we said, give us discounts for our members' grandchildren. And they said, hey, that's terrific, because they are launching. So there are some brands that see the opportunities, okay? And I'm hoping after today's show, more brands see the opportunities. But, even more than brands, I'm hoping more 60 plus, more sexy people wake up and say, hey, hear my voice. I have a voice. I have an opinion. I have a point of view. And I am going to exercise. It's like when you say vote, we're saying exercise your franchise. So, Nali, what we are doing is we are setting up a non-profit as well. Okay, because it is not good enough for us to say we are chasing only the economically privileged, but we also want to work with the underserved. And in reality, this first group is going to help us address the needs of the second group. So the framework, the canvas with which we are working, goes way beyond just making a sale. It's actually a social movement where we want people to say, I need to support my tribe, regardless of whether they are well-to-do or not.
And on that note, hopefully the India consumer market is ready for an actual lift-off. And Meenakshi, in particular to you, thank you so much for taking this initiative and actually mounting this platform for the 60 plus, an absolutely ignored lot. And more power to you in actually getting this tribe more face time, not only within themselves, but also with brands and marketers. And hopefully they will actually this time wake up and smell the coffee.